Anyway, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk with you about what I believe is the #1 problem facing both New Hampshire and America. And it's going to particularly profoundly affect people of your age group. And I'm also going to give you a little bit of analysis as to what are the implications of the path that we're on in a way that you probably are not going to hear from any of the press, haven't heard from any of the press, and probably aren't going to hear here at the university. I invite you to participate in the analysis. If there's anything you don't agree with, or if there's anything that you'd like me to go into deeper detail, I'm happy to do that. And then finally, I'm going to talk about the solution. Let me give you a little bit of background on myself. I'm 56 years old. This is my wife, Susan. We've been married over 28 years. My daughter, Jackie, who happens to live here in Hanover. And we've lived in New Hampshire for over 23 years, down in Hollis, near Nashville. Most of my career, I've been an entrepreneur. I've started a number of companies. I've gone in and turned companies around that have gotten into difficulty. And that's what my bio pretty much says. But I want to tell you just a little bit about some of my early work, in the early part of my career, because I had some very interesting jobs in Washington, D.C., which I think are relevant, and it's kind of helped me learn a lot about how the system works. When I was in graduate school, I was a writer and an editor for a weekly newspaper that went in. I worked for an energy consulting company, and basically we put out something called the Monday Morning Report, and it tracked legislation on the energy front. So I was on Capitol Hill 4 days a week. I could probably give tours of the Capitol building and then the congressional offices and so forth. When I graduated, I worked for a multinational conglomerate called Gould. And Gould was a multi-billion-dollar company, had 40 different divisions, operations all over the world. And about 20% of our divisions were defense-related. We had over $1 billion worth of defense business. And some of the things that our company made were the Mark 48 torpedo, which is the primary weapon system for every U.S. submarine. Towed sonar arrays, which are listening devices which trail behind submarines. And they're anywhere from 600 to 1,000 feet long. And they're loaded with microphones. And of course, a submarine has no eyes, and the only way that it can detect what's around it is by listening. So this trail of microphones can pick up geometrically what's out there and where it is and what direction it's moving, and that's how they identify other traffic when they're submerged. We also made flight simulators for every type of military aircraft. So because I had Washington experience, I was spending a lot of time, working the Capitol Hill side of things. And also, while I was in that job, I had a rock star boss. His name was Bill Obesacker, and he formed something called the Y Group, named after the first initial of his last name. And the Y Group was a group of the chief executives of the 100 largest companies in America. And every quarter, this group would fly in on a Thursday night, and there'd be a cocktail speaker, a dinner speaker, a breakfast speaker, and then they'd all fly out again. And typically, we'd get anybody that they wanted to talk to, with the exception of the President of the United States. We had Vice President Walter Mondale came in, the Federal Reserve Chairman Paul Volcker came in, and we'd have 3 speakers in the course of an evening and the following morning. Orrin Hatch or Richard Lugar, the guys that were lead senators, would come in if they were working on something that was of interest to the group. And I coordinated that. So by the time I was 27 years old, I truthfully had more experience on Capitol Hill than Barack Obama had when he became President of the United States. And then later on, I ran a company that required that I get a top secret clearance because we were doing a lot of defense work for DARPA and working with the Pentagon. And basically what we were doing was very advanced signal processing to help submarines communicate through seawater and get better transmission rates and so on and so forth. So that's a brief snapshot of what I've been doing.